Welcome to Beyond the Page, the official podcast of Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, where we bring you amazing insights and in-depth features you just won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, Gary Schleifer, and I am thrilled and excited to expand your learning as we dive into the latest article, have a chat with this brilliant author, and uncover the learnings that are transforming the coaching world. When you get a chance, join our vibrant community of coaching professionals as we explore together the groundbreaking ideas, share expert tips and techniques, and make a real difference in our clients' lives. Remember, this is your go-to resource for all things coaching. But in the meantime, let's dive in. I'm excited in today's episode to speak with social leadership coach Gloria Custodio. Again, as she reminded me, we were here together for the DEI issue. She's the author of an article in our latest issue, Trust, Why is it Intrinsic to Coaching? Her article is entitled Self-Trust, the Overlooked Pillar of Coaching Mastery. Gloria, a little bit about Gloria. She's a PCC, a social leadership coach with a multifaceted career spanning law, business, education, and nonprofit leadership. Now that's a realm. That's broad and wide. She's been a federal judicial law clerk, a $1 million retail business owner, a university instructor, a classroom teacher, and a school administrator. Like being a teacher wasn't enough. You had to go into yeah. As I mentioned, she's a professional certified coach with the International Coach Federation and trained transformational coach. Gloria helps leaders navigate complexity, drive impact, and lead with purpose. Passionate about equity, inclusion, and social change, she empowers individuals and organizations to grow and thrive on their own terms. Gloria, thank you so much for joining us again today.
It's so good to be back. Thank you, Gary.
I, oh, excuse me. Have a drink of water, Gary.
Yes.
You were telling me earlier about what inspired you. For the listeners who weren't in the green room when you and I were chatting, what drew you to writing this trust article?
Well, I shared with Gary, I'm a huge nerd and I love to learn. Like that's my guiding principle in life. And so I discovered choice actually when I was in training, in my training program. Um, they shared a few articles, and then it's like I found this resource that is like my brain. It's like themes. And so now what I do is because it's every 3 months that you get it. So I now have discovered that Gary posts the upcoming topics that he's interested in. I always think of it like that. It's
Yeah.
like what you're interested in. And then I start thinking about them. And that's how I was like, ah, trust is so important in everything we do as coaches. But it's not just the trust between the coachee and the coach, it's the trust that we have in ourselves as well. And so that's how I
Yeah.
went into it.
Well, thank you for doing that because you were one of the few people that touched on self-trust. In fact, you went in depth. And I love how the article was laid out and designed with so much support, so many tips. It was just amazing. So thank you for all the work that you did on this.
Thank you.
So you were talking about right in the so remembering that some of our listeners haven't read the article yet.
Yes.
Had something happen that really made self-trust come forward to you. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, so when I was thinking about trust, I had this flashback to an experience in my coaching program. And it was I was receiving feedback from my trainer, who's an experienced coach, and she was telling me that my framework in my latest recording was, and she did use the word wonky, so I used it in the article as
Wonky.
well.
I
It,
know.
it's it's stuck in my
It's a
head.
very common coaching term, wonky.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because I was spending too much time on, the current situation and the desired result, and then I wasn't getting to the coaching agreement and all of that. I was like, okay. But then I brought it up with my mentor coach, because
Mhm.
that's one of the beautiful things about going into a training program is that you also get, your time with your
Of
mentor
course.
coach. And so I was like, you like going over it and I take things very up very to heart. So I wanted to figure this out. And my mentor coach said, just trust your gut.
Mm,
You're good. You're just trust your gut. Is your client getting something important out of your sessions? They said yes. Then that's what matters. Trust your gut.
yeah,
And that's the essence of self-trust in coaching.
yeah.
Trust your gut and be authentic and hold that presence for your client so that they can trust their gut and they can be authentic.
Yeah. Wow. You make it sound like it's, as you mentioned, well, here we go, as a pillar, but a pillar
Hmm.
of support for yourself and for your client. I want to quote something that you said, and of course, the page flipped when I went to do this. Self-trust is often misunderstood. It's not constant confidence or the absence of doubt, and it's not a sign that you've arrived at a coach. Instead, self-trust is your ability to stay grounded and present even when you're unsure. And I would add to it what you just said. If your client is getting the impact they want, the outcome they want, the desires they want, then you're doing your job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I like to do, and this is because, of course, I'm a teacher at heart, right? I like to serve as a client for coaches in training,
Oh, nice.
and I find it hugely rewarding, and I get a lot of it out of as a client. But one of the things that I found unexpectedly is that it really has driven home that your perfection of the framework is not what makes for a good session.
Oh,
It's, when the person is there. So for example, one of the coaches that was practicing with me, I noticed she usually is super present and I usually get a lot out of our sessions and I feel that she's tracking me and it's very um it's like a safe space, a courageous space. So I
yeah.
can be myself. But that session, I felt that something was off and she wasn't really present. And so at the end, I asked, were you looking at your notes? And she was like, yes, because I have my list of questions and my framework. And I
The
was
good
like,
old days.
it's like, yeah, it's like, no, 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 let that go. You can look at it for 2 minutes before a session, but during the session, no notes, nothing, just focus on the person. And that is so much more impactful, authentic, and real.
Yeah,
And, that really drove home to me that for the client, particularly, what your framework is or what you're doing behind the scenes is not important. It's
yeah,
how you're showing up with
yeah.
them in the moment.
Well, and good for you for A, noticing and B, calling it out in such a wonderful learning moment way, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Again, that teaching background is, it's
Well, and it,
deeply
you know what,
ingrained.
and not it, that's the execution of the knowing,
Hmm.
but the fact that you were feeling it. So note to
Hmm.
coaches about self-trust. Clients may not know, because in this case they were lucky enough to have you as a trained coach, but
Hmm.
a client can sense something's off and perhaps not get the full result or the impact that the coach might have wanted. So
Yeah, they can sense when something is off in the force.
yeah. May the force be with you, darling. In a good Southern way. Well, that leads us into part of what you also wrote. You don't have to be certain to be trustworthy. How can coaches learn to stay steady when their confidence wavers?
Part of it is understanding that those wobbles in confidence are normal and they're part of probably what drew us to coaching in the first place, which was the desire to make a difference, to make a connection, to be there holding space for somebody else.
Mhm.
And when we are in those spaces, we're not going to be confident all the time, and that's okay. And if you're pushing yourself, you want to master your craft. Mastery is never done.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
there's not
journey.
yes, and it's a continual journey, and learning is uncomfortable. because you're trying things and then you're receiving data and you're processing it. And all of that might shake your confidence, and that's okay. That's a sign that you're growing,
Yeah.
um, and you're being authentic, I think.
I can't help but have in my head a recent, I've been coaching for 24 and a half years, and this doesn't happen very often. That's the good news, listeners. Uh, I guess I forgot the shakiness when I first started. But back and forth. So back to when I was being trained, I very much felt that I was trusted by my advisors and I was coaching with coaches. So everybody wanted everyone to do really well. So confidence was built really quickly. But I recently had an incident and I reading your steps here on moving, when you have a confidence waiver or wonky,
Mm-hmm.
our official coaching term, wonky,
Yep.
waiver. And these steps that you put in your article really did resonate. In fact, I went so far as to write a note to my sponsors because I work for an organization to say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is what happened. Just want to let you know. It wasn't inside of the expectation of coaching. It was something that I couldn't deliver on. And it upset the client so much that they canceled all future sessions,
Mm.
which nothing I can do to get them back, right? Because it's a online thing. But it did.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hit, and obviously I still remember it because it was about six
Mm-hmm.
months ago. And
Mm-hmm.
I've marched forward since, saw it as an anomaly, honored my intuition to say it happened. Could it have been handled differently? Perhaps. That was something I took up with my coaches, fellow coaches. But for the most part, it does. It just like makes you wait for a moment, right? And go, oh. But
Right.
I
It's
got to
like,
move
have
forward.
I lost it? I had
Yeah,
it all this
right.
time. Have I lost it? And that's another thing that, you know, coaching is a lot about the relationship, and the relationship is two ways.
Mm,
So even sometimes, and it's super important to look at all the factors and own our part, but sometimes it's not all on us, you
right.
know? And sometimes the client might not be in the headspace or the position or whatever, you know, and that's part of the grace that we have to give them and ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you for
Like,
that reminder because you're right. The client may have been in a space where they were locked into a way they wanted me to be that I couldn't be. And yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. You just added to that completion.
yeah, it's, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And in fact, it might be a gift in a way for you because it might make you even more aware when other coaches are struggling that,
Mm,
this is what it feels like, and this is how hard it is to keep going and to ground ourselves and to talk ourselves off the ledge, you
right.
know?
Well, and that's the beauty of our community. We have enough people out there that will talk us off the ledge, so to speak, listen, because they're great listeners. And if you offer them the opportunity, they'll also give you some coaching and advice. And that's the beauty of what we do. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have that all that supportive structure, mentors, peers, supervisors, just yeah, the community.
Yeah, and I think one very important thing that I do and that I would suggest people do is to barter your coaching and coach other coaches. And because once you're exposed to people using other frameworks, because there's not just one, there's many, and coming at coaching from different ways, and it helps to ground and broaden you at the same time. So
Yeah,
I think that's very useful, and it's an amazing gift that you can give and receive.
right. Yeah, exactly. So thank you for that. To our listeners, I'm going to put a call out that If anyone would like to have me as their client for their coaching training, you can reach me at Gary at choice-online.com, and I'd be happy to set up a time for me to be your client. And it's a
Yep.
double thing because then I know you're listening to this podcast. So we can have, thank you for listening. And your gift is the opportunity to coach me. And don't
Yep.
worry, I come with real situations and you'll have a real client. I'll take my coach hat off for that session and just be me. So thank you. Thanks for that reminder. I haven't done that in years.
Yep.
So it's another way
Yep.
to give back.
And I am also willing to do that. I love doing it. And I particularly, and some people don't do it, but I actually like the debrief at the end. So but I do always say to the coaches, don't ask me if you don't want to know.
Yeah. Hey,
And
that goes for
yeah,
anyone in life. Don't ask me if
right.
you want to know.
And I give feedback with kindness and love, but I tell you what I would like to know as well, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Just a quick question about you and your journey.
Hmm.
How long into coach training did you feel you kind of had that self-trust? Not necessarily mastered, but it wasn't one of those things that you're like,
I felt like within about 3 months, I felt that I had the structure down.
yeah.
And that's because I'm me, and I was very deliberate about, okay, I want to be credentialed immediately following my graduation. And my program was a year. So, okay, so that means I'm going to go for PCC. I need 10 hours, over 50 weeks. I'm going to get this done. So I started coaching very soon. And I had a pool of people also because I was working at a school. So I had a lot of adults and, I just put out the call and did that. So I was getting a lot of practice deliberately.
Yeah.
And about 3 months in, I felt that I was good with the structure. Then came that conversation and threw
Right.
everything into disarray. But when my mentor told me, really trust your gut. You've been talking to people forever. You know what you're doing. You bring value to them. And so I think about 6 months in, I knew what my coaching style was. And
Oh.
that's not to say that the, the, and this is something that I tell the people that I work with, the coaching that you do for recordings is not the coaching as you would do it in the wild,
Mm.
basically.
In the wild.
Yes, because
We like to say the real world, the wild works, yes.
yes, but I don't know if you've gone through it, but I have gone through the ICF marker, PCC marker training so that you can
Oh,
assess other people.
right.
And what is super interesting is that it gives you the ability to tell and discern when you're what you need to do in order to get a recording to pass.
Right.
And because in real life, the interaction between the coach and the coachee or the client is what is most important. Who
Mhm.
says it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In a recording, the coach has to be the one that says it because
Yeah.
it's only the coach's words that are marked against the rubric. So even if you're, for
Mhm.
example, in the framework I was taught, you were supposed to um, summarize their current situation and what the desired result was, and sort of name the gap, right? If a client does that by themselves, in real life, that's great. You can just move on. You both know, move
Right.
on. If you're doing it for
Oh,
a recording, you have to then also restate it because otherwise you don't get that.
oh, wow. Good pointing. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It-
it's like the difference between um, taking a test and being able to do an assignment, a formative assignment. So the test you have to hit all your
markers.
yes, exactly. And so that has been a useful thing for people to understand, and for actually for trainees, coaches in training, to develop more self-trust as well, because then they understand there's a sort of an assessment aspect that I need to hit, but there's also my own style that works with my clients, and
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. They don't have to match, and
right.
usually they don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very interesting. What a great example too with the PCC markers. Excellent. You close your article by calling self-trust a collective act. How does trusting ourselves shift the culture of coaching and etc.? Like, what do you mean by that? Tell us more.
Well, I think we are, as a Western society, industrialized society, we are very individualistic.
Hmm.
So we are, it's the self that is primary, and we think of coaching as a solo act in terms of the coach sets up the space and welcomes the client in, and that's it. But that act of welcoming somebody in and creating what I call a brave space for them
Hmm.
is also a, a collective act. It's a community act. It does help that person feel it, and then perhaps pay it forward and create it for somebody else.
Right,
And the act of embodying self-trust and sharing that knowledge and that presence with other people, other coaches as well,
right,
creates sort of a collective power, a bigger power that might then start to influence the systems. Because
mm,
that's another thing. People who have been oppressed by some systems or pushed to the margins, then make creating a space for them to trust themselves and helping them do that by you doing it ripples out. And
yeah,
I don't know, at this point in our journey as a people, it feels as if we are sort of under attack, and
right,
that feels destabilizing. So part of what we can do as individuals is, trust ourselves and our own intuition, and help others to do that as well. And
right,
that again ripples out. It's one thing that we can do,
yeah.
even when the world seems overwhelming and the challenges are many.
So the act of self-trust is a gift to the collective.
Yes, exactly,
Wow,
exactly.
thought of it that way. Well, yeah, and
Yes.
especially if you go back to what you said, self-trust is your ability to stay grounded and present even when you're unsure. If we as
Hmm.
coaches can be grounded and present, you know, as best as we can, that just says something for somebody, not just about that brave space, but it's also about you're grounded so that it's like a structure on top of a safe structure, on top of a solid structure.
Hmm. It's like we don't know how climate change is going to play out, for example, but we can be here, we can be present, we can be witnesses, we can be kind to each other, and we don't have to give in to the chaos of uncertainty that bigger
Right.
forces create, right? We
Yeah.
can just be, it's enough and it's powerful to be ourselves and to trust ourselves and to trust each other as
Right.
well. Because if you trust yourself, it's easier than I think, in my experience, to trust that other people are coming from a good place too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well said. Yeah, exactly. So that's something to ponder. I love it.
Yes.
Gloria, what would you like our audience to do as a result of the article in this conversation?
Well, there are a couple of things, I think. One is to just take a little time and reflect, and you can do it with the tools that are in the article, and you can do it with I created a little self-trust reset that you're providing the link to people to as a little gift. Um,
Oh, thank you.
and and that's for people. I'm a firm believer, like in notebooks. I have one notebook um, that I use and to just sit for a while, and whether that's list or doodling or even a voice note on a phone, and just think about how trust shows up for ourselves,
Right.
and to just choose one little practice when you're not feeling that confident and that and you're feeling sort of wobbly.
Yeah.
um and I give examples because I'm a firm believer also in little actions. Um, it doesn't take it's not the big things. Like you don't have to change your whole life and your whole practice. You can just say, I 2 minutes before I go on Zoom, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to remember what my intention is to bring to be this brave space. Um, so and people have to choose for themselves because
Yeah.
that's the whole point. It's not a one size fits all. And that's why I always like to give many examples and many tools because that's how my brain thinks, and I think it's most useful.
Yeah.
So those are, two things that I would like.
Yeah.
And of course, I think people should take you up and take me up
Take us
on our
both up on the opportunity to
take
coach
us.
us.
Yes,
Safe,
exactly.
couldn't be a
Yes,
safer space.
yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Gloria. What's the best way for people to reach you?
The best way is for my online home, which is our website, thesocialleadershipcoach.com.
The
That's
social
the best
leadership
way.
dot co the socialleadershipcoach.com.
Coach.com.
Awesome.
Yes, and we're very excited because we're working on a like retooling and rebranding and colorful,
Yeah.
happy sort of thing. So yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again for this Beyond the Page episode.
thank you, Gary. It's always a pleasure.
That's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. For more episodes, subscribe via your favorite podcast app, most likely the one that got you here. If you're watching and you're not a subscriber to Choice Magazine, you can sign up for your free digital issue by scanning the QR code in the top right-hand corner of our screen, or by, if you're listening only, go to choice-online.com and click the Sign Up Now button. I'm Gary Schleifer. Wait for it, Gloria. Enjoy the journey of mastery. Take care, everyone.